Hello, hello. I'm Lisa.
Oh, hi, I'm Cryss.
And welcome to
She
episode.
usually says I'm pressing the record now.
I did. I said we'll press record.
Oh, hi.
Hi. This is episode 63 of the Three of Skeins podcast.
And no more organized than episode 6. Why?
I don't know. We're much more organized in episode
I don't
6.
think so.
Hey there, guys. Whew. What are we talking about today? You want to go first or shall I?
No, Lisa, this is the Lisa show. She got so much stuff to talk about. I got my one little project and I'm boring.
Okay. She's everything except boring.
First of all, she got a yarn haul.
I do. Let me tell you what happened, though.
See what happened was.
Although I have taken no vows of yarn celibacy this year, none whatsoever, I did tumble across a sale that, by the way, as of today when I'm filming, is still going on. It should continue until January 16th. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
She's trying to accept y'all is what she's trying to do.
Anyway, the sale was so good, I could not leave that yarn there.
She bought all the yarn.
I didn't buy all the yarn. I just bought
I don't
some
even know
of the
what's
yarn.
left for y'all to get because she bought all the yarn.
Okay, so let me explain my thinking behind these yarn purchases. Now, you guys know I have been talking about the Aquamiri sweater for a minute. I tracked down the line of magazine it was in, by the way. It is the Winter 2020 line of magazine. And I absolutely love this sweater from the first moment that I saw it. Here are some pictures of it. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, I'm going to hold it a little closer to the camera so you guys can see what's happening there. And I've been looking for just the right yarn to make it out of. So,
What weight is it?
it's worsted weight. First, I went to a yarn thing, and it was on New Jersey Sheep and Wool, and I got some natural colored yarn because I was like, oh, it wouldn't be so nice to do this in natural sheep colors with a pop of color. Come to find out, if the yarn is a little too natural, like you can feel the lanolin in it, it makes my hands break out in a rash. So I'm going to be giving away the original yarn I got for this. I got some, as a matter of fact, I'm going to suggest this to you guys. Let's say you have yarn you haven't used before. I got one skein of each and I asked the vendors if they do mail order because my intention was to swatch this yarn and then order more of what was the best fit for me. Well, my hand broke out in a rash, so I can't use this yarn. And it is a natural yarn, and I had gotten this. This is a skein of sassy black yarn, also in worsted weight, that will go beautifully with these. So our giveaway winner will be getting 4 skeins of yarn that will work together very nicely. So when we get to our 500th subscriber, we are at number 472. Thank you guys for subscribing to us. This will be part of the giveaway that we give away. See, now that I've distracted you from my insane haul.
Oh, it's only just begun. What are you talking about?
Well, come to find out, they had some undyed yarn that was part of this sale. So I got some. And I was like, oh, maybe this won't make my hand break out in a rash.
Well, you worked with this yarn before, right?
Yeah. So this is Universal Yarns Deluxe Worsted. So I'm going to make mine. I'm going to combine it with this ginormous skein of hand dye that I got at New Jersey Sheep and Wool. And then mine is going to be, this brown is a natural sheep color. This cream is a natural sheep color. And I'm adding this green because I want it to just feel very natural and foresty. And I think this is going to be for the intarsia section in the middle. And I think it will be a beautiful sweater. Super happy with that.
What else you get, Lisa?
The price was right. I'm just going to say that. So,
But that wasn't all. It wasn't like, oh, I had this one project I want to make, so let me just buy yarn for that. No.
well, you see what happened
What
was,
happened was.
I had seen this yarn. It's called Papyrus. And I had liked it from the time I had first seen it, but I didn't really have a project in mind for it. And it is a really nice mix. Pull that out of there. This is cotton and silk. Give that a feel.
Yeah, I'm sure it's wonderful. What's this, DK?
Probably.
Okay.
Light. Yeah, I think that means DK in universal speak. So I saw these two online, and when I looked at them together, I liked how they were just kind of off shade, and you can't, it's not really showing up that as well in what color it is online, but I thought this would make a really fun stripy t-shirt for the spring in like a subtle stripe. So this is going to be my subtle stripy t-shirt project that I don't have a pattern for. I think I'm going
to add like an off-white to it.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Mom got some in an off-white. I think I'm going to steal a ball of hers just to add a little
okay
to it. Just so you know.
The premeditation.
Yes, it's there. But I wanted it to be just like soft colors.
Mm.
And I think I'm going to use the Melissa Liebman book, 6,000 Sweater Possibilities, and just put together my own t-shirt in these green and blue stripes. And if you look very, very closely, the green yarn is a plied yarn, and one of the plies is this blue. So I thought they would just play together nicely.
Beachy, boaty, New England kind of.
That's what I was going for. So that is my spring summer yarn. And then you guys know I have been working my way up to making this kind of cape situation. So I got yarn for that. Mom gave me some of her whisper lace. So I got a couple more balls just to make sure I had enough. Because let me tell you, whisper lace is some beautiful stuff. And they used to have it in, I don't know, a good 12, 15 colors?
At least, because it came in solids and multis.
Yes, and they had a lot of colors in that too. They have this color left, and I think 2 multis now. And it's a dang shame because this is being discontinued, I believe. So she is a very fine weight, superwash wool and silk. So she's going to drape beautifully. It's wonderful. And see, and that's all I got.
So how many bags of yarn is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's 2 of these, so 6. She got 6 bags of yarn now.
I told you there was a really good sale. And some of the things, because if you're getting to the sale now, you need to go to Universal website, by the way. They're marking them down for Martin Luther King weekend. Mm-hmm. So you won't have as much color selection in some things, but I'm sure you'll find something you like. The price is right. Anyway, that's my haul. I don't think it was really extravagant. It was just, I couldn't pass. I just couldn't pass up the deal. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I just couldn't pass up the deal.
Yeah, okay.
I feel Crystal judging me silently.
Because look, this bag is 10 skeins. So her cute little stripy tee, she got 20 balls of yarn just for that.
Well, you know what?
Let's see what happened with it.
If I have leftovers, I might be able to make something else too. Mm-hmm. But this way, I know I have plenty of yarn.
I'm just saying, she's making it sound like, oh, just a few yarns, but she got a lot of each one. So, should we count?
Nope.
Okay.
No need to do that. No need to go where you're going. I don't know why people gotta do me like that. Well, all right, just air me right on out.
Just saying.
All right.
So me, I haven't purchased any. I've said I'm not gonna buy any yarn online this year. I'm only gonna buy yarn when I go to events or if I go to yarn stores because money really is really the only reason. If I didn't have to worry about a budget, if I had no budget, I'd be like the most ridiculous millionaire ever because I wouldn't buy the things that other people buy. I would buy like yarn and cute stationery products.
Notebooks and whatnots.
Yeah. So I haven't purchased any yarn. I'm just, working on my first project of the year from Stash.
But her stash is glorious.
So I don't, if you were watching at the end of last year, you saw me struggling through this top I wanted to make, kind of like a sleeveless tank type of thing. I abandoned that. It was coming out too small and it had issues and I just wasn't feeling it. So I'm actually using that yarn though to make something else. And you know what? You don't have to watch the last episode because I meant to send Lisa the picture of what I'm making because it's from an inspo pic so that she could pop it up on the screen and then I forgot. But if you look in the last episode, you'll see what I'm making. It's this shrug that has like a little crossover front thing and long sleeves and it's very, very cute. So the yarn I'm using is Marinated Yarns. This is their Scrumptious HT fingering weight base. And the color is called Ghostbusters because this is, basically the color that Slimer was in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I ripped out the whole top. So you see how crinkly, wrinkly that is?
Yes. Wow, I didn't realize you started it back already.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so this is going to be the back, and it's actually I'm working from the top down, so it's going to be like so, and it's loose and flowy. She's gonna need some blocking, but I think I've done 12 pattern repeats, and so now I have 4 more pattern repeats to do, and so those 4 I'm going to be decreasing over those 4 pattern repeats because I want the bottom edge to just kind of have a curve, kind of like a bright smile. But I'm making up these decreases. I don't know what I'm doing. So we're gonna see how this goes. So next week we'll find out if I'm still making this.
Okay.
But my stitch pattern is just 3 rows of single and then a row of treble, and I believe that has a name, and I have to look that up. But I love that weird kind of like almost like stripes you get.
Yeah.
This is like really one of my favorite stitch patterns. I tend to favor really simple stitch patterns. But I think it works really well in this. It's not every stitch pattern that's going to look good with, what do you call it? Not variegated, the other one. Tonal.
Tonal.
Because you still get like, I don't know if you can see, there's little bits of white in there. And those could end up placed very oddly in the wrong stitch pattern. But yeah, I think it works.
Yeah, it's almost like a little highlight. Yeah, that highlights the stitches.
So this is almost one whole skein. I'm hoping to finish this piece with just the one skein, but I have more of it. It's not like I'm playing yarn chicken, but I would just like to not have to tie on a new skein because the less ends I have to weave in, the better.
And you're not a believer in the magic knot.
I used it once. I used it from a hard currency dress. If you watched our Friday video that will be out this week, you will see everything Lisa and I made last year, and you'll see the hard currency dress. That's all magic knots because it's stripes, and I literally live in fear that one day the dress is a little. But we'll see. Wish me the best. But where the knots are is also where I seamed it, so that should also keep it together. I don't know. I don't believe in the magic knot. I don't, but I did use it. But yeah, just to minimize tying on. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish this with just this one skein. But if not a big deal. I'm using a 3.25 millimeter hook because the top that I was making previously, I was using a 3 millimeter hook, and I wasn't happy. It was just like this is gonna take forever. So I just went up a tiny little bit because I still like to use small hooks with fingering weight yarn. I don't like to go up more than like say 4mm for fingering weight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far it's actually going quite smoothly. And we'll see. The idea is that I get to practice my shaping, but the shaping in this particular design has nothing to do with the fit. It's just a style element. So even if it comes out a little wonky, I'll still be able to wear it.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. Part of me is thinking, instead of trying to do like a round shape, just, make it a diagonal straight line. But I know I can do those. Curves are a little bit more challenging, and at some point I'm just going to have to like do it.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this goes.
It's going to be great.
Shaping
is awesome. You can do it.
It's like a stitch phobia I have.
And once you do it one time, you're going to be like totally over it. Totally. I want to invite you guys along on an adventure with me. I am going to be leading a knit-along. Now, this is going to be the loosey-gooseyest, most relaxed knit-along in the world. I will be making the weekender top. But what I'm going to suggest is you make any drop sleeve sweater you like. One of my themes in my making this year is going to be comfort. I want to replace my sweatshirts with handmade sweatshirt-like sweaters. And the weekend is going to be my first sweatshirt-like sweater of the year. I don't have an end date on it, so we're not going to be like racing to try to keep up. We are going to start on January 29th. If you start a day or two later, that's fine. This is going to be a no stress, relaxed knit along. I will have a blog post up with all the details this week by the time you guys see this video, and I will be sending out a newsletter with all the details. I will have kits if you want to buy a kit, but if you already have some worsted weight yarn, pull it out. You can use it. And that's it. That is the announcement of my loosey-goosey sweater knit along.
So what are you working on? Do you think you'll finish your current project by January 29th?
No.
Oh. Okay.
No. Not even a little bit. Nah.
This is going to be real loosey-goosey. Okay.
Totally loosey-goosey.
So what are you working on right now that will not be finished by this week?
Here we go. Can you do me a favor? Can you grab that tray for me? I am working on... thank you. This here shawl.
Why are you sound like you're mad at it?
I am mad at it. It has been sitting under this table for days now. Let me tell you what happened.
See what happened was...
This is the Aurora cabin shawl. It's Stephen West hybrid knit-along shawl. You know what? I really like this thing. I love how the colors are working out. And I love that Stephen West is pushing me into uncomfortable territory, because I would not have put these colors together on my own. I really wouldn't have. And
I was a little devious myself.
But look at them when you actually are working them. I just love it. But I realized as I was working this shawl that I never really took a really good look at the details. So I was counting my rows, and the pattern, chef's kiss. The pattern is very well written. Pretty much all the information you need is in there, including almost row by row stitch counts. So I'm keeping track of my rows. Now, I am a bit of a loosey-goosey knitter. So every once in a while, I might be off by a stitch. So I might just throw in a stitch in the next row. And figuring as long as my stitch count was right, all will be right in my world. Bust it how? You see how?
She's been dropping everything today.
I've been dropping things today. That's fine. That we're just going to leave that right down there for right now. You see how I have these odd rays? I have yellow rays and I have these pink rays. They're not supposed to be like that. The positions are incorrect. And I think it's because there's a couple rows that I just threw in a stitch. So now I'm going to have to rip this back so that this will take the right form, because these pink ones are supposed to like come up through this brown one. Yeah. But I didn't know that as I was knitting, because I never really took a good look at the detail of this shawl. So I didn't know until I was like, this doesn't seem quite right. When you start getting that feeling, so I think something's off here. And I had to go and find a good picture of the detail section of here, of this shawl. And that's when I realized, oh, you know what? Your elongated stitches are not in the right place. So I'm going to be ripping out back to about here. Maybe a little bit further. I don't know. We'll see. But I think I'm going to film that process because I'm sure I'm not the only one who will have to do this. And I want to show people how to rip back, know exactly where you are in the pattern, and then move forward again. The knitting in and of itself is not hard knitting at all. Stephen West did say this was going to be a pretty mellow knit, and most of it is mellow. And then there's going to be sections where you have to really pay attention. And he was
But that's really right. Just counting, not like the actual stitch work.
No, the stitch work is not challenging at all. You just have to make sure everything's in the right spot.
But means you don't want to watch a show with subtitles while you're knitting?
No, I won't be watching any Chinese dramas especially while I'm working on this section right here. But overall, I'm really happy I took this on, because just to free up my notion of how to put colors together, this was so useful to me. And I know, Cryss, when I pulled the colors out, Crystal didn't say anything, but I could tell she was like, oh, you sure?
You know what? I think it was mainly is this the bunny in a tutu?
Oh, no.
Oh, this is Cranberry Bog.
Yeah, this Cranberry Bog.
I was concerned about Cranberry Bog in particular, but it actually works.
Yeah. I'm ecstatic at how the colors are coming together. And I'm also excited because all this came from my stash.
Oh, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Stephen West kits be expensive.
Yeah. But they don't have to be. They don't have to be. You can pull from your stash and make, because I didn't buy the book either. I bought the individual pattern.
He give you, I know when he does his mystery knit-alongs, he'll tell you, well, you want something that's variegated and you're going to use it for this section and stuff like that. Did he give you that kind of guidance for this particular pattern?
Yeah. And he was saying specifically you want colors that contrast. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking mostly about finding contrast. And I particularly liked one of his colorways. And let me tell you what happened. I knew I wanted to work this shawl from my stash. So I was like, okay, let me see what I've got. And as I pulled out my yarn, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I have this, I have this, I have this. And it kind of reminded me of one of the color selections he had put together. Mm-hmm. So I was like, let me just do that. But because honestly, I would not have put these colors together on my own. So even if you are working from your own stash, you can always go look at various kits that he put together. And if you have colors that are similar, because my colors are not exactly the same, but the nice thing is I like every last one of these colors because I picked them, individually. So how it's coming together, I'm absolutely just thrilled with. And I might not have been as thrilled if I had bought the kit in the same kind of color family, because I found that his colors that he chose were much more subtle than mine, and I'm not that subtle. But
Stephen West?
Yeah.
Subtle?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, his kit, the colors aren't as bright, and my colors are all
version.
Yeah, his colors are all softer than these, and my version is just going to be punchier, and I really like that. But anyway, that's where I'm at. Next week I'll probably have less shawl to show you, but I will also do a video of how you can rip out and still know where you are and just continue back going again. That's why it's not ripped out yet. I wanted to make sure and film it. Oh, and he did give one really great piece of advice. Instead of storing this project in a bag, I was keeping it in a tray till I just dropped it just now.
That's what I did with the hard currency dress because I've used like 6 different colors.
Yeah.
And I was using them in a certain order. So I was able to just keep them
Well,
on the tray in order.
The order changes, but I can just keep moving them and not have it be as terribly tangled. And if it does get a little tangled, I can see where I can pull out the one I need in that moment. So if you're going to work on a multicolored project, try not storing it in a bag because it'll get very unpleasant in that bag. Try a tray if you have one lurking around the house, or even a box so that they don't mash around. I'll have to pick mine up off the floor later because I just dropped all of it on the floor. Well then,
we filmed another video today. She just threw a button across the room. It was crazy.
I don't know what's going wrong with me today. I cannot have.
And you just had your hot chocolate. What's the problem?
I don't know. I just don't know. And it turned out so good today, Cora.
Lisa's got a lot going on.
I think that's it. So tell me what you're doing with this skirt situation.
So I was just thinking about the fact that I had some challenges last year in my crochet and my sewing, and that I think making skirts is going to help me address both of those issues. So I'm trying to get back into writing my blog. So I did write a blog post about it. It's called Skirts, the Final Frontier.
Cryss has a blog. It's crochetcryss.com.
Oh, mercy.
I'll put a link.
But the idea is that I am addressing specific issues that I had with the same solution in both crafts. So with regard to sewing, oh honey, sewing, it's a lot. And for one garment, you end up having to employ so many different skills. And then I, was making things completely randomly in terms of choosing patterns and choosing fabrics. So I didn't always have the same skills coming up over and over again. I mean, some like, doing hems or what have you, but I didn't always have the same skills coming up from one project to the next. So it's not like I got to do the same thing over and over again and really understand how to do that one thing. And so I decided that I needed to really focus on one type of garment and learn the ins and outs of making that garment. And I decided that skirts might be one of the simplest things to make because, at the most basic level, a skirt can just be a tube. And that's the plan right now, to make skirts, but different types, different styles of skirts, because that'll still keep me on my learning path where I am acquiring different skills. But from one skirt to the next, hopefully less will change than compared to like making a skirt and then a shirt and then shorts. Yeah. So that I will be repeating some of these skills over and over again and actually, acquiring those skills. And when it comes to crochet, the issue for me has been my fear of shaping. And it's not that I can't do it. And, when I've worked in patterns, obviously I've done it, but all the math is done for you. Someone else has done all the counting. A really great pattern will have, stitch counts for each row. And so you'll see if you're off somewhere. But just figuring out on my own, with shirts, I kind of cheat, right? If I make everything to my bust size, I know it'll fit my waist. And that measurement is not what's holding the shirt up. It's my shoulders, right? That's holding a shirt on my body. But if I make a skirt and it doesn't fit at the waist, either it's not going to come up or it's going to fall back down, depending on if it's too big or too small. Yeah. So I figured if I just work on that simple shaping to get me from waist to hip, I I can understand. I'll learn just the basics of shaping for fit just from doing that. And that'll help me. So if I want to make a dress, right, then I'll know how to go from hip to waist to bust. So I'll be able to transfer that, what I've learned, to making other things. But if I just focus on skirts, and again, focus on making different shapes. So if I make a pencil skirt, I only have to shape from waist to hip. But if I make an A-line, obviously the shape of the skirt is changing all the way down, and I'll learn how to do that as well. So again, I'm going to be making skirts. I'll be making different styles. Now, mind you, I have a queue. I actually have a whiteboard over here on the wall, and just all the things that so far I have talked about making or been thinking about making are up on the list. And it's not all skirts on that list. So we're going to see how this works out.
Yeah. Girl.
Like what I'm making right now, not a skirt.
But there is shaping.
Yeah.
So you're already practicing that skill.
So I am going to have to make sure I make the time to focus on because you know what, the last thing I was working on sewing was a bra top. So I mean, you know, like a flowy camisole, a fitted skirt, a pair of shorts with pockets, a bra top. Everything was different. Too much. I gave myself too much. So
we all do it.
We're gonna narrow our focus a little bit, and hopefully by sewing skirts and crocheting skirts, I'll be learning some important skills that then when I branch out into a few other things, they might be just a tad bit easier. I hope. That is the plan. Plans, man, plans. But we'll see. We'll just hope for the best, and we'll just go with it.
You know what, though? I think, because I was just thinking about this the other day too, we tend to focus on stitch gauge, and that type of shaping that you want to do focuses more on row gauge.
It's both, though.
Yeah, it is both. But
definitely both.
I will speak for myself. I tend to not pay that much attention to row gauge. I really don't.
I don't either, especially if you're making a sweater, because you know it's making longer, right?
Exactly.
It's not a big deal. But a skirt, the row gauge is important because you want to cover your behind.
Yes.
Because I can make if my sweater comes out too short, I can put a shirt underneath it.
Exactly.
But skirts, yeah. You want to focus on both of those.
Also, when you're doing your decreases or your increases, depending on which direction you're working on, you need to know how many rows you have to work those
get
increases
from one
over.
to the next. And man, did I learn that the hard way when I made this dress that I call a Coeur d'Alene dress.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a fit and flare.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that skirt over like 3-4 times because I had a certain amount of time to get from, or a certain number of rows to get from hip to waist.
So, because I was thinking about that the other day when I was working on reviewing my pattern for my my sweater I'm going to be working on for the Knitalong for the weekender. It is a straight up and down sweater, and I am not a straight up and down person. So I wanted to do a little bit of hip shaping. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm going to put the shaping in the waist, but to make it flare out a little bit from my hips so I don't have to have insanely large shoulders to get it to flow over my hips the way I would like. So I had to calculate my row gauge and really make sure I measured it accurately so
you know how many inches you have to get to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I'm familiar. Yes.
But typically I don't really care how many rows are on a thing, but for this particular project, I needed to know how many rows I would have to do those increases. Well, I'm working from the bottom up, but so to do those decreases so that I can shrink it back in to get the shoulder fit I want.
So I feel like I've learned a lot, but it's like the more you learn, the more you realize you have to learn because I'm just not the garment maker I want to be yet. I'm still very much working towards my goal of being able to make anything I imagine, even if I don't actually make it, because let's say I come up with, decide I want to make some old Victorian costume. I won't. But I want to know that I could. So yeah, it's just still about being on my learning journey. I don't consider myself an expert. I'm just hardworking.
Yeah.
But things went pretty well last year. But now
Yeah,
I
I
just
think.
realized that I want to do a little bit more.
Uh,
So hopefully skirts will get me
well,
there.
it's funny because you're focusing on skirts this year, and I'm focusing on sweaters.
Sweaters for me, I felt at their core they can just be rectangles, and so I felt more comfortable making sweaters when I started designing things myself. I was like, okay, I understand the construction.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that about any other garment. So sweaters are where I'm comfortable, which is why I tend to make so many of them. I really want to like push past that.
Yeah. I want to play with shapes and different sorts of sleeves and that kind of thing.
Well, that book 6,000 Pullover
Yeah.
Possibilities will definitely help you with that.
That's where I'm going with that.
I have this other post on my blog that was about 4 knitting books that I'll be using as a crocheter. And I would also, one of my goals for the year is to make a garment from each of those based on what I learned from each one of those books. So we'll see how that goes.
It's on the list too. Your list is long.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I feel like you last year, I haven't written down my list. I have a running list in my head that I'm actually
I
scared
had
to
to
write
write it
down.
down because I was going to forget stuff. It's January.
Yeah. But I think I might have to write down, at least the things I know about for certain, because I'm starting to scare myself a little.
But but you watch the Everything You Made in 2022 video that's coming out this Friday. She made just as much stuff as me. I only had more things because I included my sewing projects. But her knitting, she matched me like garment for garment. So she been about it with the needles last year, and so I'm sure she'll be fine this year too. If you focus on one project at a time.
Maybe, I'll try to stay mostly one at a time, but I might usually be working on one or two-ish.
But yeah, that's where I'm in learning mode. I'm just what is it in Minecraft? Don't you guys have a mode you can go in where
Creative mode, yeah.
yes. I'm in creative mode with my crochet and my sewing. But I feel like that's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I totes agree.
So you got anything else going on?
I think that's mostly what I've got. I'm gonna have to rip out much of what I did on my shawl. I have been swatching. I've been swatching my sweater. And
what yarn are you using?
I'm using Aurora Ultra Wool.
Oh, that's why all that red yarn was on the table the other day. Okay.
Yeah. And that's sometimes how we see what each other is doing. There's evidence lying around. Like, I wonder what she's up to with that. But yeah, so when you guys are thinking about doing a project, I have a whole little process I go through with my pattern. So I'm reading the whole thing through. I usually forget about changing needle sizes, and there's a lot of needle size changes in this one, so I'm highlighting them. So
in the shawl?
No, in the sweater. Use 3 different needles.
Oh no. See, I love that I can just use my one hook all the way through.
She and her one hook.
One hook to rule them all.
I'm highlighting those because sometimes I just get excited or I get into a groove or I'm watching a Chinese drama and I don't speak either Mandarin or Cantonese. So I'm reading the subtitles as I'm knitting. So I may not be like paying the strictest attention to my pattern.
How's that working for you?
So I might miss a needle change. So I'm making sure to highlight all that stuff. But when I was looking at the schematic, that's when I realized how straight up and down this sweater is, and I was caught between 2 sizes. But I decided that I really want to make sure I get a good fit in the shoulder because I find that things won't look as sloppy if it fits nicely in the shoulders. But to get that shoulder fit, I wouldn't get the fit I wanted around my hips because my hips are wider than my shoulders are.
You could also just do splits though at the side.
There are splits at the side, but it's supposed to have a slightly oversized fit. So I went up a size for the bottom half, and I'm just going to bring it in for the top half. And that's why I needed to calculate how many stitches I would need to reduce to get to the number of stitches in the top half that I wanted to do. And that's just something you can do. But if you don't go through the pattern, you won't know. I think that's why sometimes knitters get surprised at the end, because they didn't go through the pattern, they didn't go through the schematic, and they didn't know, like, oh, based on how my body's made, this is not going to fit me the way it does the woman who's wearing it in the picture. And I don't like to confuse the picture that I saw with, what's real for me. And if I want to get a nice fit on me, then I might have to modify things a little bit. And I think those are the type of things we should talk about as makers, how to make things fit us. Because you're making custom garments. You're not just, cookie cuttering out, at a factory. And custom garments are just that. They're shaped specifically for your body. And I think that's more of the ethos I want to move towards. So my wide hips will have a home that fits them very nicely.
Okay. Man, she made it weird. Okay. On that
happy note, thank you guys for joining us. Please do remember to like and subscribe. It makes Mom real happy. She will just come, sometimes she'll just come out in the conversation and be like, oh,
yeah, this many
you got this many subscribers now. And we are trying to get to our 500th subscriber. And at that point, we will be doing a giveaway. And I already have 4 beautiful skeins of yarn in the bag for the giveaway. And we're going to put some other goodies in too. Is that it for you? Have a good week, everybody.
Stay stitching.